What is up, you guys? Welcome back to a new episode of Screen Queens. If you guys are new here, this is a podcast that I do where I talk about my favorite actors and actresses. Typically, they're a little bit underground, not many people know about them, but I like to give them more hype and the hype that they deserve and talk to you guys about movies and TV shows that they've done and give you guys some new recommendations. So I wasn't sure who I wanted to do for my third episode, but I decided on Tiffani Thiessen. Tiffani Thiessen has been an idol of mine ever since I was like 13 years old, and I've basically watched everything she's been in, stuff that I could find access to at least, on streaming services and everything like that. So yeah, I'm going to be talking to you guys a little bit about who she is as a person, stuff that she's been in, that she's like known for, and then some other stuff that's like pretty underground that I recommend that I think you should watch. So Tiffani Thiessen was born on January 23rd, 1974 in Long Beach, California. She is married to Brady Smith, and they've been married since 2005. They're still together. She is known for her roles as Kelly Kapowski on Saved by the Bell and Valerie Malone on Beverly Hills 90210. I have never really watched Saved by the Bell. I've seen like a few episodes. However, it wasn't big when I was a kid. I grew up in the early 2000s, so I wasn't, alive when the hype was in the 80s and stuff like that. But I did watch some 90210. I thought the show was super good. I like more of like the 90s, early 2000s feel rather than the 80s feel. That's just something that I prefer. So I liked 90210 better. I also think it was more entertaining when the characters were in like their early 20s, rather than in high school, like Saved by the Bell. Currently, she's a cook, so she does cooking shows and she has a few cookbooks as well. I loved watching her show Dinner at Tiffany's. She did it from 2015 to 2017, and I thought the show was really good. It was one of those cooking shows where like she had celebrity guests on every episode and like basically cooked for them like a dinner party. So it was super interesting seeing the people that she invited on, and the food that she would cook looked really good. She also typically had her fellow co-stars on from different shows. So she had people on from White Collar and Saved by the Bell, which was super interesting to see them all like interact years later. I was a big White Collar fan. I think that was her show that I watched the most of, at least. She played one of the main characters' wives, and she wasn't in it like a lot. Like she wasn't like in it every episode, but when she was in it, her acting was amazing, and I really enjoyed her storylines. That show is on Netflix. I highly recommend you watch that if you're interested. It was on from 2009 to 2014, so there are a decent amount of seasons. And it's basically just like a crime thriller show. And yeah, it's pretty good if you guys are into that kind of stuff. I would say that Tiffani Thiessen is more of a TV show actress than movie actress, because she's been in more popular TV shows rather than like popular movies. She was in a few like Lifetime TV movies in the 90s. She Fought Alone, A Killer Among Friends, Sweet Dreams, A Stranger Beside Me. All of those movies were like 90s Lifetime movies. I've seen them all. I think they're pretty good. And yeah, a lot of the other movies she's been in, she doesn't really have like a main role in them, and you can't really find them anywhere besides like ordering the physical DVD on Amazon. My favorite thing that she's ever been in, and this might be a shock, but She did a TV series called Fastlane in the early 2000s with Peter Fasinelli and Bill Bellamy, and I really liked this TV show. Like I said, I like kind of like the 90s, early 2000s feel, and this just like bleeds 2000s TV like at its peak. It's super good. Basically these two cops have like a candy store, which basically means it's like a full warehouse full of like seized like Ferraris and Rolexes and a bunch of money, and it kind of gets them into the glamorous world of like high stakes crime. So in order to catch these people in the crime world, they have to act like them. So every episode they kind of put on this persona of like these rich douchebags to catch criminals. And Tiffani Thiessen also is a cop that kind of helps them catch these criminals. She is a main character in this one. It's super, super good. It's definitely probably one of my favorite things she's been in. It's just like funny, but it's also like the storyline is super good. It's one of those shows where like each episode is like a different storyline. However, you really feel for the characters and you really grow attached to the characters as the show goes on. It was only a 1-season show. However, you can basically watch the show for free anywhere now. It's on Tubi for free, and you guys know I love Tubi. So I highly recommend watching Fastlane. I have all of the DVDs. I have like that huge DVD pack of all the episodes. I really, really like the show, so I highly recommend watching it. So yeah, looking at her IMDb, she hasn't really been in anything since around 2021, which was the Saved by the Bell reboot. She was in a Netflix original called Alexa and Katie. That's kind of like a teen show. She plays one of the girls' moms, and she is a main character in the TV show. I watched a few episodes. It was a little too young, like the audience was too young for how old I was at the time, but it's like a cute, wholesome show. More recently, she was on a reality TV show on MTV called Deliciousness. I'm pretty sure she was the host of this, and it's kind of like Ridiculousness, where it's like random clips of people just being stupid, but it's funny clips regarding food. And she did this because, you know, she was getting into cooking at the time and did a few cookbooks and had her own cooking show. So yeah, that was on for a few years on MTV. It's set up just like Ridiculousness. They're all kind of sitting on a long couch looking at the screen while the clips play, and it's pretty funny. I'd say it's kind of more structured than Ridiculousness. So yeah, that was pretty good. But as of right now, she does a lot of like Instagram reels with recipes and cooking videos. She doesn't do her cooking show, Dinner at Tiffany's, anymore. I believe that got canceled in like the 2010s. But yeah, she's not really doing much TV nowadays, and I'm not really sure why. She does have 2 kids. She has a son and a daughter. Her daughter looks exactly like her when she was young. It's kind of crazy. So I'm going to tell you guys some fun facts about Tiffani Thiessen. Since I have been obsessed with her for years, I know some pretty interesting facts that you guys probably don't know. So let's get into it. She was offered a role on Charmed, the show from the 90s. She was offered Shannon Doherty's role before they hired Shannon Doherty. And she actually turned it down. So I thought that was interesting. Jenny Garth and Tiffani Thiessen kind of battled it out for the role of Kelly Kapowski on Saved by the Bell, and Tiffani Thiessen obviously won. This also might not be a surprise, but she won a ton of like pageants and like modeling awards when she was a kid. She won the Miss Junior America beauty pageant in 1987, and then she was also named CoverGirl's Model of the Year in 1989. Her favorite movie is E.T., and she has a tattoo of a butterfly on her hand. The tattoo is matching. She also has one with her mother. They have the same tattoo. So I think this is going to be a shorter episode. I honestly haven't checked up on Tiffani Thiessen for a while now, and I thought she'd still be making TV shows and movies, but she hasn't in years. So I thought there would be more to talk about. However, I definitely recommend checking out her cookbooks and her cooking show because she's a really good cook and has some super interesting recipe ideas if you guys are into cooking. She has a book called Pull Up a Chair, which is a bunch of recipes, and then she has a book called Here We Go Again, which is recipes kind of focusing on like how to upgrade your leftover food. She also has a book called You're Missing It, and I'm pretty sure it's a children's book. She wrote it with her husband, Brady Smith. So I highly recommend checking out anything that involves her cooking because I've read the books and I have watched the show and it's pretty good. I also highly recommend you check out Fastlane. It's free on Tubi, and it's a really good show if you like the early 2000s feel. You can just tell it's made in the early 2000s, and it's kind of comforting for me. It's not like a, comedy drama, but, it's comforting. And obviously, if you haven't seen Saved by the Bell or 90210, I definitely recommend those as well. Even if you have seen them, it's been a while, so give them a rewatch. And a last recommendation that I have is definitely watch some of the 90s Lifetime movies that she did. If you're looking for like a girls' night in kind of like movie night. So thanks for tuning in on this episode of Screen Queens. Stay tuned for another episode. I am not sure who I'm going to be talking about, but we'll see. And make sure to check out those recommendations, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye, guys.